Hi everyone. Welcome again to another episode of the Startup Grind Pakistan Fireside Show. My name is Arzish. I'm the country manager for Startup Grind in Pakistan, and I run Ijad Labs, which does some of the largest tech conferences in this country, and for promoting Pakistani startups. Today, I got the opportunity to host this virtual fireside chat with another amazing individual of Pakistani descent, whom I met during my recent trip to Austin. So we have today with us Ed Sattar. So before handing over the mic to him, I'll try to give a brief introduction of him that I found from my research. So Ed is a visionary entrepreneur with more than 20 years of experience in the e-learning industry. So he has a degree in electrical engineering and finance from the University of Texas, UT, in Austin, and he has made contributions in multiple sectors that are worth applauding. His experiences include extensive research and consulting to regulatory education and training providers, as well as state and federal regulatory agencies. During his tenure in this space, he has identified key criteria and standards and change management frameworks that are currently being published and implemented. Most recently, I believe he has developed a unique proprietary instructional delivery methodology called QS Learn and embedded it into industry first cognitive learning platform CLIPP, so CLIPP, which is based on artificial intelligence. With this, hopefully I've done the introduction right. If not, you can probably correct me. Over to you, Ed.
Sure, not a problem. Thanks for having me, Arzish. Yeah, I think you summed it up pretty well. You know, moved here in 1985. Grew up in Karachi and transferred to UT. Then stayed here in Austin. Uh, Went through several startups back in 1990. And then just kind of stayed in the education technology space. And then 2000, so done venture-backed startups mainly, and then also bootstrap startups. And then 2015, kind of, kind of, kind of stuck my toe into the VC world, and then made an investment in a venture fund called Moneta Ventures. And then
Okay.
2018, I kind of double, triple down on that, and so we grew that. So had a now we have we went from 25 million to 100 million in management uh, across 18 portfolio companies, and I have a fund of my own,
Amazing, amazing.
and then I have a fund of my own where I only focus on. I realize that the VC route is not the route that is aligned with my strengths and my strengths. And I like to develop people, and I like to build businesses and kind of get my hands dirty uh, in the ideation and the strategy and the scaling, because since I have that unique experience, I have these playbooks and how you build and scale organizations. So primarily been in the education technology sector since then. I have seven, well, I would say six portfolio companies where I have mainly primarily education technology. Um, and in workforce, career readiness, and so on and so forth. And we just embarked on with a group of a great team. We embarked on Institute of Emerging Careers in Pakistan, which is a nonprofit mainly designed for people that are not privileged either economically, financially, or they lack some sort of equitable resources in order to scale their career in the areas of technology and marketing. So that's a recent launch, and we have a great team that that's a founding member of the team, the founders of the team, as well as the operating and management team. So that's kind of been the span of my career, and happy to help answer any of the questions that you may have that may help the startup culture in Pakistan.
Sure, sure. No, thank you so much for summing up your journey in such a short time. I think it was like 6 or 7 minutes. So, as per my research, so you started your first company, I believe, real estate search back in the 90s, right?
That is correct. Yeah, that was so. I had a background in when I was in college. I invested in residential real estate,
Okay.
um, and that's how I kind of helped myself through school, and then bought and sold and fixed homes, and then that gave me the platform and how how people become real estate realtors and how they become real estate licenses. And I used to buy this foreclosed property data initially, and
Okay.
uh, and these are all foreclosed properties that I bought, and I'm like, okay, how can I make this service available through online, a subscription service available online to people so they can purchase these lists.
Wow. And then you sold that company in 1999.
I
Uh,
Yeah, about 99 2000 ish. Yeah, is when I sold that company. It was not a big hit, but
okay.
it helped me start fund 360 training.
Okay, yeah. So that was your next company, which I believe you started after that, and that was, I believe, your big hit, right? So
Yeah,
in kind of like edtech, but in a very specific field of like regulatory and compliance centric, uh, education. So maybe you can like uh, tell us some more about that, and how does that experience help you now? Because now I believe you, even with all the things that you're doing now, you have a lot of focus on e-learning and digital like education through edtech platforms.
yeah. So again, when I started 360, we had same experience, right? I had my real estate experience, so I
Okay.
understood. I had an understanding of how real estate agents have to take training, and then they have to take their pre-licensing, and they have to pass a license. And then once they get their license, then they also have to um, pass their exam, and then they have to take their continuing education. So that's what I did. So I built uh, we went to basically quasi government, the state government, and then we showed them how we could create a platform that would allow people to take real estate education online and then take their exams and pass their exams, and how you would authenticate a user who they say they are. And then just it was a new frontier for a lot of us, but we did that, and then the growth kept on continuing. Then we started doing that in OSHA. It was all, again, it was also adult and workforce, adult learning, workforce development, but most of those training and education was around some sort of regulatory initiatives.
Okay.
They had to meet like a state or city type of requirement to be able to do that job.
Yeah, so makes sense. So you kind of figure out that there's a problem around this where people need to complete a certain set of courses and stuff to get that certification and start that career and build a whole e-learning platform around it.
That is correct. That is correct.
That is amazing. And then so you did that for like 18 years, I believe, and then made it into like a big company. But how was this journey of starting something from the ground up, making it into something much bigger than probably even you had imagined, and then leaving and starting a fund.
Yeah. So it seemed like a natural progression. When you have enough capital, you want to deploy capital, uh, because you're fighting against inflation. The capital doesn't do anything. Um, so the natural progression was to diversify your capital. So in fact, I also am an investor, like an LP in Sarmaya Car, and
Yeah.
but that was another thing I wanted to help local VCs. I'm also an investor and an LP in I2I Ventures, which is another Pakistani-based uh,
Yeah.
venture fund. But part of the reason is I just really want to help the Pakistani startup ecosystem I because I do understand that uh, if we don't do it, if other successful Pakistani people from Pakistani descent don't do it, then no one will. And that's also one of the reasons that gave birth to Institute of Emerging Careers. In my past 20 years of employment in Pakistan, I noticed that our education system doesn't it's deficient. It's a very old and archaic education system. So hopefully you can influence that through the government. But
Yeah.
you know,
Hopefully.
just people learn to the test, whatever they're going to be test against, whatever you see. If you post down whatever the success metrics are, people are going to chase the activities to to achieve those success metrics. And if the success metric says that you have to memorize,
Okay.
right? And if they say that they're testing your memory, then people are just going to become better and better at memorization. So, but if you're testing against people's problem-solving skills and critical thinking, then people will still get better and better at critical thinking. And that's where our problem is with our education system, is critical thinking and problem solving in our youth and in in our people that the education system pumps out is almost non-existent. Leadership skills are almost non-existent, and quality management mindset is almost non-existent in for people that come out to our education system. It's just the quality mindset is just at a very different level. I mean, they're very low on the quotient. That doesn't mean our people are not smart and all that. So that's one of the reasons that's my contribution to say, look, we just don't have to rely on government to do everything. It's also our civic duty to make a social impact, and that's one of the things we're doing in Pakistan.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like you're definitely very passionate about this initiative. So I'd love to dig deeper into this. So as per your analysis or whatever you've learned about the, I can say the Pakistani education system, do you think that online education is enough as an alternative or as a tool to build your career, and then people can now just like skip universities and go to like institute of emerging careers or quick start or like all these other platforms that are available there, and just like become a software engineer or become something else that they want to do
Well, I mean, look, in United States, there's a 40% dropout of of,
from universities?
of you from university, so that's accelerating. Uh, and the Gen Zs and the millennials are in a phase of life where I think coming from this TikTok culture where the attention span is like less than 30 seconds, right? So
Yeah.
that kind of permeates across the spectrum. So I mean, I believe, and also if you couple that with a lot of employers, uh, they're now saying we don't need a degree for you to apply for a job, right? So lot of the large employers, so they just need experience, or they need some sort of an accelerated learning, or they can demonstrate that they really understand that skill, and they have the competencies to do a specific job. So accelerated education is becoming fairly uh, very popular,
Okay.
uh, and uh, and especially here in states. So then what's happening is you could have like 6 months, 7 months, 9 months of education in a specific area, become uber specialized in this one little area where your job is, and then the employers will take over and start doing continuous learning. So they'll make that investment in their people, as well as people should make an investment in themselves to do continuous learning, to do promotions and things like that. So I
So
feel
I,
I feel like that's where things are heading.
Okay. And definitely with all your experience in e-learning and the companies that you're currently running as well, this experience is definitely the most up to this, analysis is the most up to date. But in my perspective, today's careers, especially if I can just talk about skills that you can learn on your own, so not pilot or doctor or whatever, but like software engineer, graphic designer, whatever things you can do, like this, you continuously need to improve in order to stay in the game, in order to stay relevant, in order to, there's like a continuous relearning process, right? So that has to be there for you to succeed and even survive in life, probably, and grow. But the concept that someone needs to go to a university for 4 years to build a career, uh, and even with the numbers that the universities have, not like, most of the people don't get jobs or don't get good jobs. The industry is not ready to hire these people. The industry has like terrible feedback about the graduates that are coming in. In this kind of world, if there is an alternate where we can like just train someone in 8 months, 9 months, or maybe a year on this like one skill and make them employable, right? Because the goal is to learn something that can help you in practical life, right? So if you start a boot camp and after like 4 months you get a job, so probably the purpose of that boot camp is complete, right? You don't need to graduate from that boot camp. You've already probably graduated, then you learn the rest during that job or whatever.
That's right. That's right. That's I think that's where really I'm just seeing remnants of that trend happening already. I mean, we graduate a lot of people that just do boot camps, and they seem to be getting jobs very comfortably. Talent is very hard to find, especially in the tech world, and anything related to digital transformation or even healthcare is just becoming a very talent is just becoming very scarce. So I think that's where people are heading, and I'm not saying everyone's going to be like that, but there's a significant amount of population that is interested in that, and that's a disruption happening in higher education in the U.S.
Okay, makes sense. And
Yeah.
and this is one thing that probably I can explore over the call as well. So even when you told me about Quick Start and how your bootcamp model is unique because you run it in partnership with all these universities, right? Is there a possibility, or do you see space of doing the same with, let's say, some Pakistani university, right? So we have NUST and ComSats and New Tech. These are the three universities that are part of the ministry that I am associated with. But even like universities other than that can be engaged as well.
Well, look, the thing is, so we have, some of the leading universities like Santa Clara University and Santa
Yeah.
Barbara, Texas A&M, UT, so a couple of the UT system universities, Hofstra, Florida Atlantic, I mean, to name a few. Uh, so your university, so we provide education and training and boot camps under the umbrella of those universities because they're
Okay.
the ones, we have a contractual agreement that, and then they go through a vetting process. They look at our curriculum, they look at our instructors, they look at our learning management system, they look at admission practices, marketing practices, and so on and so forth. And then we do that on their behalf, as a third party education training provider and contractor. Now, with these universities, we could go direct, but we don't go direct because the brand makes a big difference. Brand is what drives everything. So students should be able to monetize on that brand, and employers should be able to recognize that brand. Now, we are planning to do something like that in Pakistan as well. Quick Start uh, plans to do a launch in the next 30 days.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
yeah, we plan to do a launch of maybe one or two programs under maybe the US university brand.
Oh, that would be amazing, I think.
So now if you compare a US university brand versus the Pakistani university brand, we don't know where it will work out. But I'm assuming, I mean, that would be a question to you. Do you think people would prefer NUST over, let's say, UC Santa Barbara?
Uh, so I think, for someone like me, obviously, UC Santa Barbara is like a big name. But if I'm sitting in Islamabad, NUST has probably a much stronger alumni network in and around Islamabad. So that brand locally is probably more recognizable and sellable and all of that. And as an institution, I think it has a very strong presence locally, right? So in the context of Pakistan, something like LUMS and NUST and maybe GIK, they are big endorsements if the program is like focused on Pakistan, right? So you say, okay, this is a web development bootcamp for Pakistanis, and this is like in collaboration with NUST, right? But if you say the same with like UC Santa Barbara, like I can just like right now go on your website and sign up the UC Santa Barbara program, right? If I
Right.
have
But do you think
laptop.
Santa Barbara would be a much better, stronger brand, or UC Santa Clara would be a much stronger brand for Pakistani students? They would prefer that, right?
I think it would be, but I think going with NUST might have its own benefit in terms of the reach and the local resources and all of that stuff,
Hey,
right?
happy if you introduce us to people. I mean, working in Pakistan, being having offshore offices in Pakistan for a number of years, the working in Pakistan, and I mean, I'll give you an example. When I was at 360 Training about 12, 13 years ago, just to be able to forge a partnership with PMI, Pakistan Management Institute, it's just like Pakistan Institute of Management, I think PIM, I think. It's just like an act of God, just getting things done in Pakistan and working with people. It's just a lot of hard work. It just sucks all the energy out of you. Uh, and I'm saying that as because I've been there, done that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
uh, Hey, if you know people at Nust and if they'd like to work, but I've tried a lot in the last 20 years to give back in some way, but it's just even giving back becomes super difficult.
yeah. No,
Uh,
I agree.
Pakistan,
I
the
agree.
processes, the systems, the mindset. Uh,
No, I totally understand, and I feel that my calling is to help make this process easier, to be that bridge that can probably help figure out the nitty gritties of the system here, and then make it easier for
if you
uh,
want, I mean, if you'd like a quick start, be happy to happy to explore a partnership with Nust and then do local marketing and then see how that goes. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm on the website right now, and you have web development, cybersecurity, cloud engineering, data science, AI, and machine learning. So my one of my question would be, so in a case like this, do you get some upfront payment from the universities? Is
No,
there a
no, it's usually a performance based.
okay, makes sense.
It's
So yeah,
also,
then it should be like super easy.
yeah,
So
it's performance based. So yeah, it's all performance based. If we do well, then the university does well.
yeah, I think
Problem this is these curriculum. So we are also like we do this in collaboration with large technology vendors like
yeah,
AWS,
AWS and
Microsoft, Cisco, NetApp, I mean, PMI, CompTIA, EC Council, IC Agile. We collaborate with them on we are some of them, for some of them, we train their customers as well. So we have a B2B side where QuickStart's been doing this for about 30 years, providing certification training to their customers to drive adoption. So we also help build curriculum with them. So we collaborate with them and then collaborate with the universities as well. So the
so it's a
curriculum is,
win-win.
yeah, it's super difficult for universities to keep up with the curriculum. The curriculum changes every 6 months, 7 months,
Yeah,
8 months. And
yeah,
the other thing is the professors and instructors, they're not aligned with the latest certifications. That's just not their thing.
yeah.
What is the rate? They're just not. So that's
It's
another thing that's happening. The universities have lost touch with the employers and what the employers need these days. So the talent that the universities
agreed.
are pumping out are also not aligned with what the skills and competencies that are in demand.
No, I totally. I think that has been one of the biggest issues raised by almost everyone, is that there's a big industry academia gap, especially here where, like, in the US, probably a lot of university has like mandatory internships to graduate, right?
Yeah.
Here, it's not like that, right? And a friend, he studied from Canada and he did like 4 internships before graduating, right? So that kind of learning versus someone who's never probably worked during the 4 years, and then expecting, and then he expects to get a job just because he has a degree. uh, and especially in today's world where probably skill is more valued irrespective of whether you have a degree or not. I think my other question, and because this is like a public call, we're going to inshallah make the next thing happen. So my other would be like, what is probably the average cost of a boot camp that the student has to bear, or how does it work?
Well, I mean, it depends. In the US, in the US, the price range could vary. For the same boot camp, it could be around 3,000, 2,500 to 3,000, 4,500, and almost $9,000, right? Or 9 to 10,000. So it's almost the same. It's the same curriculum. The only difference is the instructor hours and labs.
Okay. And
That's the only
okay.
difference. So the amount of instructors that are involved and the instructional time, that increases the cost, so the cost goes up because it's a 24 to 28 week program. And then the labs. So in the $2,500 program, we don't provide certain labs, which is which because labs are a huge cost. It ends up costing anywhere from $600 to $1,000 for a lab. So those are the only difference. So in Pakistan, we've adjusted the price considerably. I don't know, but don't quote me to it. But it could be for for something like a cybersecurity or cloud engineering boot camp. I think it's just very, very low price. I think it's closer to maybe 2 lakhs, something like that. It's just a
Oh,
very,
wow.
yeah, 2 lakhs or 2.5 lakhs, 3 lakhs, something like that. I know it's sub 3 lakhs.
So I'll send you an email right away after the call, and hopefully we'll get this through, because this has been one of the priorities for the minister that I'm associated with, but also for almost every other organization working for the IT and tech sector, right? So like there are 4 or 5 different organizations who promote startups and IT and all of that, and all of them understand that there's need to do unconventional, probably virtual or physical training programs to upskill people, right? Because the universities just can't keep up. There's so much demand right now, especially in like specific domains like software engineering, and even more like MERN stack and whatever. That salaries are going like skyrocketing in Pakistan, right? So it's the same people that are like jumping companies and getting more and more salary, because there's so much capital flowing. It's like in the last year alone, or in this year, it's like 210 million something, and so much hiring happening, but the universities are just not producing people at the same speed. And even the ones that they are producing, they're not, a lot of them are not like hireable, right? So the good talent is very limited. So if a program like this can help fill that gap, there's like a lot of local demand, and then there's international demand, and then all these different government funded like projects have a direct interest in supporting this, right? Because we want to increase the talent pool, which in turn supports all the outsourcing companies or the tech startups, which in turn helps get more capital inside Pakistan. So it's a direct ROI for our foreign exchange, right? And we're definitely going to do something about this. But uh, so what is your plan with the Institute of Emerging Careers?
So Institute of Emerging Careers, again, it's a non-profit, so we don't charge any students, right? So it's more like the idea here is that we won't charge you for education, and hope, but and the outcome is going to be that we're going to help you find a
Okay.
job anywhere in the world, right? Especially with COVID, and then now the model with the organizations, foreign companies that have, got this tailwind of doing digital transformation. So they were forced to digital transformation. Now they figured out all the processes and matured a lot of these processes to manage and lead organizations remotely. So now they could potentially hire people anywhere, even people, people sitting here in the US, companies sitting in the US could hire people in Pakistan, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So our objective is to help people find, lucrative jobs, emerging jobs, high-paying jobs abroad, as well as in the region, as well as Pakistan. Or the outcome would be if we end up finding certain students that are just amazing and entrepreneurial, we will form a team together and help them with startups, and then you will fund their startups, right? So that's that. Now, once they graduate and once they get jobs, they have an obligation to become a member of IEC, like of Institute
okay,
of Careers. So, so what they will do is part of the member would be it's now they got something for free that they did not pay for. Now they will, as a member, they will pay back almost an equivalent amount of what it would cost, what it costed them to get that education.
oh wow,
So do you see what I'm saying? So it's like now they're a member of this social impact. So now
yeah.
they're also part of making a social impact, right? So our umbrella is not, a group, a few people cannot do it. This is going to take a huge movement and
Yeah.
other people to become part of this. So that's how they will do it.
Okay. Yeah, so we'd love to explore how, however we can, help. So I'll obviously help in personal capacity, but also from, whatever public sector support we can get, because I feel that, the past 2 years, there's been a lot of good policy changes, right? From, SCCP and State Bank and all of the other stuff. And we can see it directly reflecting in the number of investments that are happening. Obviously the government doesn't have to do anything with the awesome work that these startups do, but probably some regulatory stuff has improved confidence, investor confidence, and then the PM has direct support into this. So our my personally my objective with this new engagement that I have is not to start some new government project, because whenever the government tries to do something themselves, they always screw it up. So the role should be to find an amazing company or startup or partner and facilitate the work that they are doing, right? To help it make faster or bigger or more scalable, or get Nest on board, for example. uh, and
Okay.
that's right.
So what
Yeah.
is your agenda? What is your agenda as a part of that, being an advisor to the Minister of IT?
Yeah, so he's the Minister for Science and Technology. There's another ministry for IT and Telecom. It's a little complicated with all the ministries here. But under this ministry, there are 24 organizations, including Nest and ComSets, right? So that is like our home ground to say. But then also the Pakistani Engineering Council falls under this ministry, right? So and they control the curriculum and certification of all the engineers that are produced in Pakistan. So whatever kind of like one of the suggestions that I've given is to probably make internship mandatory for any engineer to graduate, like whether you're a civil engineer, mechanical, whatever. So my role primarily is to connect with individuals like you and get ideas, and then make this connection with the minister and his team, and all the organizations that exist, and even beyond this ministry, right? Because we have political support. So even if an organization does not fall under the ministry, we can help bridge, and probably provide a push, because the minister has a very clear understanding that this is the future, and probably this is the present, and we're already way behind. So we need to catch up, and we need to work on things like blockchain and big data and AI and all of that. And even in his speeches today in Peshawar, in the provincial assembly, he talked about how the new election system that our ministry is proposing uses blockchain to make sure that the election result data can't be messed with, right? And all of that stuff, and hearing these things from a federal minister, and honestly hearing him explain it to other people who have no idea about technology was just amazing, right? The way he explained blockchain and all of that, it truly shows how much interest he has, and we've been able to get so many things through so far, and there's so much stuff in the pipeline. And hopefully, I think I mentioned the December conference that we're planning to do, the Startup Grind Pakistan conference. Will officially invite you, and hopefully at that event we'll be able to make a lot more things happen. Uh, Connecting the public sector, private sector, and whoever's the other stakeholders in the industry. So the core role is to kind of help bridge the gap.
Okay. Grip the gap between what and what?
So between the public sector and between the Pakistani diaspora, the Pakistani startups, the IT industry, all the people working in the innovation ecosystem, to kind of become that to understand things from you, and then help them understand, and then make sure that something happens.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but I think number one, the NUS thing sounds amazing, but also this Institute of Emerging Careers, I think it is a very noble initiative, and I'd love to help push this and promote this and do outreach, because even other than the minister, there's a lot of people who in their personal capacity can add value to this, right? Either by helping connect employers or whatever, and helping people, more people kind of benefit from this, because we have like such a large population, and the more the merrier, right? We need 10 initiatives like this to kind of probably make some impact, right? Because it's a huge country.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So no, I think that's good. This has been a fantastic conversation. I think I'll just get to my last few questions. So given your experience, moving, like growing up in Karachi, moving to Austin, building a company, building a VC fund, and then having this like very, I would say, holistic understanding of life, from like being a Pakistani immigrant, but then also being in touch with Pakistan. You're NLP in two of these funds, and you have a very thorough understanding of how the education system works here. What is kind of your advice, or life lesson, or whatever, to all the founders that are starting in Pakistan, that probably did not get the exposure, or will not get the exposure of learning from the US or moving there?
So let me understand your question, Gary. So what's kind of my message to the startup entrepreneurs in Pakistan
Yeah, based in Pakistan.
that are based in Pakistan?
Yeah.
And well, I mean, and in council, in what capacity? In terms of talent, in terms of ideation, in terms of scaling?
I think it can be anything, because the context of this question is that probably 90% of the VC funding that has happened so far has taken place in companies that are founded by Pakistanis who have either studied outside or returned from outside. So there's like a very clear connection with this outside exposure, and the Pakistanis like you, who have lived out in America or outside Pakistan, have done really well, right? So there's definitely something that people learn moving outside Pakistan, living there, that helps them become much more successful than the people who are not fortunate enough to get that exposure, right?
Yeah,
Uh, so from that, living that life, from like the growing up in Karachi, and then living the rest of your life outside, and excelling at a lot of things, what is like your life lesson?
yeah. So so I mean, well, my life lesson may not 100% apply, but I'll tell you how it would apply to how would you want to apply some of my learnings, or my counsel would be to an up and coming entrepreneur in Pakistan would be, first and foremost, being an entrepreneur or being and trying to do a startup it's like a lifestyle choice. Number one, right? It's a lifestyle choice. Like I want to innovate, I want to do something, I want to control kind of sort of my destiny, and I'm just fanatic about doing something that's never been done before. So you have to realize a lot of hours goes in, lots, and you compromise on a lot of things temporarily. So you just there's no easy path to this kind of success. And during that journey, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say that you cannot do it, this will not happen, it's very difficult, and blah, blah, blah. All kinds of everything that is potentially negative that will happen. You'll have a lot of roadblocks. You just have your number one asset would be your thought process, like your thinking. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So you have to kind of doctor fill yourself to be super super positive, because it does get lonely at the top, right? So that's one thing. So you have to be super determined. Now you cannot be super determined on a business model that sucks, right? So try to pick a business model. You have to do a lot of market research and also do a lot of market validation. Don't
Okay.
just pick an idea and just jump on it. Market research says, okay, there's a need for this product or services in this industry. But market validation says, how much are people willing to pay for it? Yeah, for example, Aziz, do you want like a tennis court in your backyard? Aziz, yeah, sure, I love tennis. I'd love to have a tennis. But would you be, how much would you be willing to pay? But Aziz says, no, I can only pay, 2 lakh rupees. It's not going to work,
Yeah.
right? So that's market validation. So make sure the idea, but don't shortchange the time you invest in doing market research and market validation. Number two. And then there's some ideas that you just look that they're already working out in the West. They've already have an early adopters, and you bring it to Pakistan and tweak it. Right? You have to personalize it and customize it. So
Yeah.
all something that's already working, just replicate it.
Yeah.
But so those are the three areas that I would say, and then I would say the fourth area is focus on quality.
Okay.
uh, Quality mindset is almost non-existing. This will work or ye chalta hai is not good enough in this world, right? I mean, now people go and do reviews, and just people. There's a huge amount of mistrust in the Gen Zs and the millennials. They can sniff bullshit from miles apart. So they can go online and figure it out if you're genuine or not. So quality, service, follow up, follow through. You may have to build a learning culture within your organization to drive a quality mind centric. So those would be, and then also obviously the fifth one would be just pick the best talent. I mean, your talent, it is, make sure you pick talent that is aligned to your vision and aligned to your value system. And if they're all aligned to your vision and aligned to your value system, then they will work hard, they will do it. Otherwise you'll have a bunch of rebellions. So that would be kind of my counsel.
No, I think those are some amazing five lessons. These are very structured. It almost seems like you prepared the five lessons to share, but those were like really, I think, to the point and very clear for someone to understand. And one of the things that I could personally relate is the lifestyle thing, right? Because there are obviously lows when you're an entrepreneur, but generally I think we don't see that. We see Elon Musk and all the good things in life, but not all the hard times that you have to go through. And only persistence can probably get you through it. uh, but yeah, I totally agree. And yeah, no, perfect. Thank you so much for taking out your time. And the view looks amazing. I'm pretty sure the tree is real on your back.
Oh, it is.
And
Yeah, it's just my office. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I think I remember the view.
Oh,
Uh, and looking forward to uh, helping probably make something happen and play my part.
Yeah,
And
so
thank you so much
I've
for,
already made the introduction with of yours to the team of IC.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, so
that was fast.
I think it'd be good to ideate and figure out if there's a way to work
Yeah.
together, as well as if there's a way for Quick Start to partner with Nust. I'd be all ears.
Yeah, so I'm sending you that email after this call right away, and we'll facilitate that. But yeah, regarding the public call that we're on right now, so thank you so much for your time. This has been an amazing conversation, and thank you so much for believing in Pakistan and helping Pakistan, and also believing in Pakistani startups. You're an LP in two funds. That's just amazing, and looking forward to hopefully play my part in helping you make more impact. But yeah, thank you again for taking out the time.
Most certainly, and thanks for having me. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, Arzish. Good luck.